You are here with me, Ladder, and I'm here today with Noerdy. This is TalkReddit. So Noerdy's been around on Reddit for 7 years, has over 3 million karma, and moderates over 250 subreddits. For example, PewDiePie submissions, Top Talent, South Park, and he's co-created subreddits like Wholesome Memes, Watch People Die Inside, and Meme Economy. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Ladder. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem at all. So basically, we just want to have a chat with you and find out more about you, find out more about your Reddit career as such. And we'll start off quite quickly, really, and ask, how did you come to know about Reddit?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really starts, I had a bunch of friends who would use Reddit. They would talk to me about Reddit. They'd be on their phones in the morning, or on their computer. We'd hang out, and they'd always be talking about Reddit, at their house or whatever. We'd hang out, and so I was kind of curious about this website. So I went on. I got an interest in Reddit because it was a community. It was a website that had really specific communities, and I could ask questions about things that I might not have be able to find other forums of on the internet. And I really liked Reddit because of the subreddit. What is this thing? Because I would always be walking around, outside or at my house or at someone else's house, and someone would be like, "What is this?" This probably only happened like 2 or 3 times in like a year, but I have a very vivid memory. I found this weird piece of like junk metal, and I was just for a joke, I posted it on Reddit. And I was like, imagine if they could tell me what this was. And then like within like 5 minutes, someone responded with like the schematics for like this crazy.
So did you actually not know what it was?
No, I did. I had no idea. It was just like a piece of junk metal. But anyway, that kind of really showed to me kind of the power of Reddit, and kind of showed me the power of kind of a lot of people who really, want to specialize in one thing, or want to, spend a lot of time on one topic, and really what it has to offer. So that was really impressive to me. So anyway, I'd be hanging out with my friends, they'd be on Reddit, and I had the idea of how funny it would be if I could like join Reddit and start posting stuff on Reddit and make it to the front page of Reddit, just that when they browse on Reddit, they would see me. I always thought that would be kind of funny. Just kind of to make a joke. So I started doing that. I started finding content, on Imgur and on Instagram. And that was original to Reddit. It was new on Reddit. It wasn't content that I had created, but it was, it hadn't been posted on Reddit before. And so I'd be that bridge, and I'd post it to Reddit. And almost just accidentally, a lot of those posts became popular, and I started getting to the front page, 3 or 4 times a day.
Was that the goal? Was it to you wanted to be at the front page and to get them upvotes?
Right. It wasn't so much about the upvotes. Then it was mostly just about being like, "Hey, look at me! I'm on the front page of Reddit. Isn't that funny?" And they'd be like, "Oh wow, that's pretty funny." And
did I notice straight away?
They'd notice straight away, or I'd kind of point over their shoulder at a post that they were looking at, and I'd say, "Hey, that was me."
Was that when they didn't notice? And you're like, "Yeah, no, that look, that's interesting. What is that? Who posted that?" And you're like, "Oh."
Right. So I always thought it was really kind of funny. But yeah. Anyway, so I did that, and I probably got around 500,000 karma from doing that for about a year.
500,000.
Yeah. And it was just very casual. It probably only took about 15-20 minutes a day to do. But anyway, I had the idea. I was like, wow, 500,000 karma is pretty cool, but it's still 500,000. So I wanted to get 1,000,000 post karma. So I did that. It probably took me another couple months, and then I decided, I want to be able to tell people that I have millions of karma. So
when was it that you hit 1,000,000 post karma? How long from when you first started Reddit?
I'd say I started Reddit probably, I guess that would be 2013 or so. I'd say I probably got, my actually, I'm looking at, I was 2012, actually, October 2012. So I probably hit 500,000 karma by, I probably didn't start, posting stuff on Reddit until maybe early 2014. It probably took me about half a year to go from not having any karma to be 500,000 karma.
Wow.
I'm sure I had some karma before then, but it wasn't anything substantial. And then after that, it probably took another year to get, to 1,000,000. So I probably had 1,000,000 by 2015, and then I think I probably had 2 million by 2016 or so, 2016, 2017. And then at
So
that point,
you were solely dedicated to this. I know 15 minutes a day and whatnot, but because
right, yeah,
the
no, I
way
mean,
I
this,
find it's like a buzz, isn't it? It's a buzz to
I,
get on the front page and to get
yeah,
them
at that point, it
upvotes.
was kind of just kind of a hobby that I had. Again, once you know what you're doing, and when you're not really being very original, like I'm not, I'm not very creative. I don't know how to make memes or make jokes, so I would just go on like Instagram.
So you're a karma whore.
Pretty much. I have, most of my content, my karma just comes from posting cat pictures. So
Cat pictures.
just because I figured that was, the most wholesome thing you could post. So I had a lot of fun with that. And then, so anyway, I hit 2 million post karma, and then I was like, all right, I got 2 million post karma. That's cool. And then I really kind of stopped doing stuff for a while, until last year. And then last year, I decided that I wanted to get a million comment karma, because I figured, comment karma, you need to be somewhat witty, you need to be somewhat, uh, smart, and you have to be, somewhat original.
Depending on what subreddit
Right,
you're in,
depending on
right?
what subreddit you're in. So, I started grinding up comment karma, which was a lot more fun, honestly. And I got to a million comment karma, and then at that point, I was pretty much done with grinding karma on Reddit. I'd hit all the achievements that I wanted. I know there's people out there who have 10 million karma or have 20 million karma, but the amount of time they have to put into that was really something that
I mean,
I didn't
that's crazy, isn't it?
really
That's
didn't care too much
crazy.
about.
I'm just looking here. Your most upvoted comment, 28.7k. I mean, what kind of feeling does that give you? I know the thing is, Reddit, this experience, it doesn't give you anything material or anything like that. But what feeling when you get something like that, 28.7k on one comment? How does that make you feel?
Uh, if it feels good, but at the same time, I understand that, I'm not like special. I'm not, unique. I'm not really. I mean, it's kind of cool to say, hey, 30,000 or 28,000 people, liked this comment. But I think that, at the end of the day, you kind of have to realize you're kind of gaming the system. I mean, I understand how Reddit works. I understand how to get karma. So it kind of lost its kind of magic to me. When I first started Reddit, it definitely had, a magic to me. My first post that ever did well, I remember, it was probably my first year of Reddit. It was totally an accident. I posted a picture of an overgrown railroad, to Reddit. And I
What
went out.
subreddit was that?
It's probably like r/pics or something. Um, and I posted it to Reddit. And I went to dinner. I came back and had like 500 karma or something. And I remember when that happened, that blew my mind, because I had never had so much karma before, and I really didn't know how Reddit worked. So I was just very impressed that I was able to do it, accurately, and I did something right. But after that point, I kind of realized that, the number one thing to Reddit getting karma is get there early, and don't say anything that anyone can disagree with. And if you do those two things, then it's very, 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 very easy to get karma, because that's just
It's
how the
so
human
true.
mind works. And that's just how the Reddit kind of rewards commenters, is by, allowing people to get there early, and make something that is really not very, special or smart, not very witty at all, but is something there. And if you look at it, actually, if you look at my top comments about um by about a couple of years ago, I think when I first started trying to get a million karma, um I probably had around half a million karma back then. I think for the last half million, I think I actually had about 300,000 karma, so on comment karma. So I had some, stocked up just from commenting on Reddit,
Yeah.
for half a decade. So I wanted to kind of find an easier way. So what I figured out was, if you go to my top comments, about half of them are
I'm
are
already
just
there. I'm
are
already there.
are just me quoting other people, and then just
Yeah,
saying
I did
like,
notice that. I did. There was a trend there that it was suddenly they got your oldest
right,
ones. They were really your opinion, and you could see like you. It was your opinion. That's what you thought of it. Then it suddenly devolved into right. Okay, my opinion really doesn't matter, and the way to do this is just post something that's relevant that people can't disagree with, and if they do, it's not you
Right,
anyway. So you go,
right.
oh, it's not me, so it's fine.
Right, exactly. I think kind of having that kind of impersonalness really kind of took out the magic of Reddit for me, but it was, it was
Right? Yeah.
effective to getting, a million comment karma. But yeah, what I would do is I'd go on Ask Reddit, and if there was a question that would be very popular, I would literally just Google the question, see if it was posted before, take the top comment from there, and then of course I wouldn't steal anything. I'd usually
Oh
credit
no,
the
of course not. No, you wouldn't do
credit the
that.
guy who did it, but I'd say taken from a previous thread, or credit to this user for this idea, and then I just do that just because that's how lazy I was. Or like another really easy way that I would get karma, especially kind of in the last couple months, is I'd go to Today I Learned, and no one on Reddit reads the article on anything. That's kind of like, because we're all too lazy. So what I would do is I would actually read the article on Today I Learned, and I would quote like the one paragraph that I thought was interesting, and then I'd comment under that. And I'd comment like, "Wow, that's really interesting." And those, like, 5 words or 5 words or whatever, I'd consider being my contribution to the website. So it
That's
was never anything very good. What I would do, and I've started doing this more recently, is I started making alt accounts and going on like writing prompts and stuff, just because I wanted to kind of get a bit more original with my content creation, and with my kind of writing, just to kind of improve my writing. So and I've been very successful there. I've gotten maybe probably 50,000 comment karma from writing prompts, and that gives me a bit more satisfaction, just because it's much more original. You have to be much more creative to do something like that, rather than just read the article and say, "Wow, that's really interesting" next to it.
But you can see that if you look at your user profile, you can see that you went from being personal, then getting criticism for anything, to getting this karma, and now you need something more to keep you here. Because for me, it's like when you get that first big post, it kind of allures you in, and you need to get that next post. You need to get,
Right.
what is that next big thing. But now I can see from your profile, it's like, right, so how do I get something out of this now? How do I stay here and create something for myself, rather than do it for a community, etc., etc.? It's how do I better myself, and what medium can I use to do that?
Right. And I mean, it was really just a challenge. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm on Reddit, probably about the same time that most other Redditors are on Reddit, probably, I don't know, two or
All
three
the time.
hours a day. Yeah. So all the time, I mean, if I'm, waiting in line, I'll be on my phone checking, Reddit, or you're texting people.
Yeah.
But, it does not take a lot of time to get karma. I think I did it with an alt account because I was curious to see how much time I could take to get 100,000 karma, and I timed like how many hours. I think it took me 5 days, and each day I would spend under I think it was between 45 minutes and an hour, so it was really like 5 hours to get 100,000 karma. And it was really
Wow.
it was really quite interesting to see how little time you really have to put into it, kind of, if kind of the strategy behind it.
For sure, yeah.
And
I think for some people on here, I mean, for me, I lurked for years, because I think it's quite something to take that jump to like post, and to put yourself out there. Not even you're putting yourself out there, but you're putting your username out there. And I do think that is a common trend I see, is that you'll say, "Oh, I've looked for X amount of years, and here I am now." And but when you actually look into the system, and you actually know how to do that, the way you've explained it and whatnot, it's not that incredible. It's not that scary to do that. And I do think, especially in my experience, for years I lurked and I wanted to post things, but it was like, what criticism am I going to get for that? When really that doesn't matter.
right, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, nothing really is important on Reddit. Even the most
Exactly.
popular users on Reddit, the Gallo boobs, the top most famous Reddit users, they're still just they don't make money from it. They don't really get any fame from it, and they can't really. And so it's kind of like in that kind of aspect, it's almost kind of like a lonely website because there isn't really that kind of there's not really a great following of profiles and stuff. I mean, Galaboop, he has
Yeah.
tens of thousands of Reddit followers, but I mean, for being the number one user on, I think it's like the third biggest website in the United States,
For sure,
is,
yeah.
I feel like you should have, millions of followers. It's kind of bleak in that regard. But I think that, at the end of the day, I really just did Reddit just so I could, laugh with my friends, be like, hey, I got, a million comment karma or whatever. And in doing that, kind of everything else that I've achieved on Reddit has really just been luck. Everyone comments on how much, how many subreddits I moderate. Um,
Yeah.
but a lot of the subreddits I moderate, I really just kind of fell backwards into. I'd say probably 75% of the subreddits that I moderate are really just subreddits that I created once as a joke. Like I created like I don't know. It's so easy to
and
create a
it
subreddit
blew
on
up.
Reddit. Yeah, or it blew up, or it didn't blow up, and I just haven't left it. Left it as being a moderator. So
So in that along that vein, then, what was the moment you first kickstarted your moderation and your creating of subreddits? When was that? What was your first subreddit?
it was really let me think about this for a second. My first subreddit that I actually created, um, I I think I created a few subreddits that were pretty small. That they probably only had a couple hundred users. Um, I, and and they weren't really popular or anything, but it was fun for me to use. But there was a very specific moment, I think, that kind of kickstarted my Reddit moderation career. Um,
If you can
and
call it a career, isn't it? It's
Right,
no
if you can
monetary
call it a
value.
career, right? No, of course it's barely even a hobby. I mean, I have so many hobbies kind of in real life. It's hard for me to consider moderating on Reddit a hobby, but it is kind of like a fun thing to do. And I mean, it passes the time. So I'd say, um, I guess the time when I joined meme economy and wholesome memes, those two things, that was kind of in October of 2016. I think I joined both of those subreddits kind of around then. I'm gonna join one. Right. So I just looked it up now, and I joined meme economy on September 29th, 2016. And meme economy was created by the original creator, September 27th.
Okay.
Um, and the original creator really didn't do very much with it. His account actually got suspended and banned right afterwards,
Wow.
a couple of weeks later.
What,
But
what was that for? Out of interest.
again, I have no idea really why he got
There's
banned.
so there's so much drama that happens that no one really knows the specifics for it. It's like, oh, that
Right. I mean,
happened.
again, that's part of the kind of the allure of Reddit, is kind of the anonymous kind of aspect that it has, and I
Yeah.
mean how much mystery is surrounding everything. So it's kind of like a black box that you kind of have to piece things together. Ask people, if you really want to figure out what happened to this guy. But honestly, I don't really care too much to figure it out. But meme economy was great. I joined that. I guess the end of September, September 29th. And then because I had kind of that was around 3 years ago or so, and because that was when I wanted to kind of grow uh subreddits, and because that was when I wanted to grow kind of my comment karma and stuff, what I would do is I'd go on like Ask Reddit, and someone would be like, what's your favorite new subreddit? And I'm like, oh, check out this fun new subreddit that I just helped create. And that would really back then, Reddit found that kind of an appropriate thing to do. And now if you try to do that, you'll get downvoted because people will think that you're promoting it. But back then, it was kind of
Yeah.
an acceptable thing to do. Um, and so I did that, and that really kind of kickstarted meme economy. I mean, we were trending, every couple weeks. We would, people would talk about us a lot. I mean, people would write news articles about us. It was really kind of a cool phenomenon. And so
Because
it was
I
kind
saw
of
that. I saw that when I obviously done my research and whatnot, and I have done. Obviously, I've been a part of meme college for a long time, but there was lots of news articles about it, and it was that's fascinating. Is that you can
right,
create
yeah,
something that gets that kind of buzz about it, and
right.
I mean that must have been for you something beautiful to experience that and to like really get a buzz off of that.
Yeah, it was really cool because again, it kind of just kind of peeled back the curtain a little bit. Like if you know Vsauce, the YouTuber, he talked about us in a video, and I actually got to know him a little bit, better than I had just kind of as a viewer and as a fan.
Yeah.
So he started following me. We talked a little bit, and he's a really great guy. And you know, I guess the point of it comes down to the fact that once you have kind of an opportunity like meme economy, which again is totally just based on luck, my
Yeah.
my eyes kind of opened up, and I tried to kind of look for other opportunities. So later in that month, I saw that Wholesome Memes was just getting started as well, and I said, "Hey, Wholesome Memes, there were a couple of moderators there at the time, and I said, hey, you should add me as a moderator. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'd love to help
So
you guys
just
out."
selling yourself.
Right, exactly. And they said sure, but at that point, Wholesome Memes probably had under 1,000 subscribers. So when I joined, I kind of helped grow and promote them as well. And of course, that was successful, and that grew blew up into a big thing as well. And throughout these opportunities at Meme Economy and Wholesome Memes, I would take kind of a leadership position. I would kind of be very proactive with my role in the subreddit. I'd hold contests, I'd update the community. I do all sorts of these things. And that I thought was that was great. That really kind of got me to interact with the community, which I enjoyed. Um,
Yeah, of course.
but it also kind of gave me an idea of kind of what it is to be a moderator on Reddit. So I guess for the next couple of years, I started kind of being very proactive and looking at subreddits that I had kind of an interest in, and so I
Yeah.
joined subreddits like Westworld and South Park, and those were two big ones that I joined. That I really had an interest in, because I mean I like those TV shows, so I joined those subreddits just because I messaged the moderators, and I was kind of an active moderator there just because I enjoyed it.
So, what was the pull for you to reach out to the guys that were top mods or anything like that to be moderator at these places? What
Right,
was it? So you could make a change and make a difference?
that's exactly what it was, because I would be browsing kind of the subreddits for years, and I'd be enjoying kind of the content, but I'd see that the content might not be very good quality, or might be kind of you know a lot of bad posts, or a lot of people being mean to each other in the comments. And I thought that I could help clean that up. So because I cared so much about the community kind of inherently, I was able
Yeah,
to kind of put in the time to kind of help be a good moderator. Um, there were a lot of other subreddits that were big subreddits, default subreddits,
yeah,
large meme subreddits, that I was invited to be a moderator on. I joined as a moderator, but they had a lot of activity quotas, and I joined them because I had friends who I moderated other subs with, and they'd be like, hey, Noerdy, he's a great guy, I really like him, he's a good moderator to work with, so they'd add me to
yeah.
those subreddits. But unfortunately, I'm pretty lazy. If there's and there's a lot of people on Reddit who do a fantastic job and will spend really 40 hours a week or more on
For
Reddit
sure.
kind of
Yeah.
moderating. And that was something that I wasn't really comfortable with, and that was something that kind of was above my pay grade.
So your timings then. So you at the start of when you joined Reddit, you was on 15 minutes a day, something like that. And when you went into the moderation side of it, when you was in the default subreddits and things like that, how much time would you say when you was active in the community and really in that moderation role would you have gone up to?
So I'd say um when I was moderating like the big subreddits, probably my peak was probably, I don't know, a year or two ago. I was moderating like dank memes. I was moderating all these other big subreddits that had these quotas on them, like moderating quotas, like you have to
Yeah,
remove X amount of posts in a month. Um,
which is crazy. It's like like business. Like
yeah, yeah,
I found that mad. So when I found out about that, it's like wow. It's like you have a quota, and it's just a hobby.
right. I'd say I was probably moderating like an hour a day. And even, and again, it doesn't seem like a lot of time, and it really wasn't. But it made me kind of miserable to do, just because it was kind of like a chore at that point. It was
For
something that
sure,
I didn't
yeah.
really enjoy doing. I'd say I was on Reddit, in general, probably like another hour or two a day. And during that time, I'd go on like Westworld and check on that subreddit because I enjoyed going to that subreddit. And then I'd look through the comments and the posts. If there's anything that didn't belong there, I'd remove it. And that really didn't take much extra time to moderate than it did to actually browse those subreddits.
Yeah.
So once I started moderating subreddits that I didn't browse kind of otherwise, I did not really enjoy that. And so I either became inactive, or I just kind of left. Or there's some subreddits that I was joined because I joined because friends of mine or Reddit colleagues or whatever other moderators had just added me to, just because they were starting out a subreddit and they just added all their friends because that's how
Yeah, I
Reddit
mean,
works.
there's a thing, isn't there, in Reddit where subreddits will have well-known moderators to add to the allure of the subreddit to get people in, isn't there? So
Right.
I always found that strange that you have a
It's
long
total
list of
cronyism.
moderators.
And I think it kind of makes sense at the very basic level, which is, you
Yeah,
want to be a moderator with other people you work well with. I mean, if you have a bunch of people who are very active and very passionate as moderators,
yeah,
it kind of makes sense to kind of spread the wealth and kind of have your team almost
yeah,
kind of join subreddits. Just, and I think that works well, and that works well, kind of getting the content curated in a way that makes it good for users, but again, it has that element of cronyism to it. And I guess that's just kind of
yeah.
an aspect of Reddit, and I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's definitely present. But again, there's so many subreddits. Like, I would say, besides
So
kind of the
many.
subreddits that we listed already, I would say pretty much, I mean, including a lot of the subreddits that you listed already, like PewDiePie submissions, I was really only added to that because I'm good friends with the moderators there.
Yeah.
I like PewDiePie, as much as the next guy. I don't watch him that much, but I try to clean up the subreddit. But I'd say most of the others, I'm going through my list right now, but like
So it's a long list.
it's a long list, but I'd say most of them, like of the Avengers, Garlicoin, you know, Incredibles memes, Onion. I mean, all these. I mean, not a lot of them aren't very big, but like Sweaty Palms, even a lot of them are really just friends of mine created a subreddit, or were head moderators there, and they offered to add me as a moderator. I just said sure, and
Yeah.
either they don't have a moderation quota, or it's very small, and so I'm able to kind of keep up with the work. But again, I'm, as I said, I'm not really an active moderator. I'm not very hardworking, just because I do kind of have that philosophy that Reddit should never take up your life. You should have. I mean,
No,
I
exactly.
have a
Yeah.
job. I've family to take care of. I like to think of myself as more than a Reddit personality. But I do kind of have that kind of toe into that community, into these kind
You
of
see, yeah, you certainly do.
um,
Yeah.
into these kind of yeah, into these kind of communities of moderators and communities of posters, and I can kind of understand how it
It's
works
kind of
too. And
like the golden circle.
right,
You
exactly. It's it's it's
you
it's
have
like the golden circle.
you have them at the a hand's length away, but you can get into there and get out of there, but still keep your life and not have to do the 40 hours a week that some people
Right,
do.
right, exactly. It's still very basic. And it's not something that I really pride myself as having. I mean, I don't really tell people about this. I'd say probably because, I mean, it's not that impressive, really. It's just that I started Reddit because I
And
wanted
some
to
people just don't get it either. If I was to say to my friends about Reddit, they'd go, "What? What is that?" Some people know about it, some people don't. But it's kind of like
right,
when I got my first big post, it was like I want to tell someone, but I couldn't tell
right,
anyone because they wouldn't understand that. You know what I mean?
r-
So
right.
it's kind of like a secret little life that you got that you have to keep to yourself, and because it's like, will people understand? Like, won't they?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, so at the end of the day, I kind of, I kind of got bored of it. And I kind of realized that the best thing to do, is to, just kind of switch back. And once kind of I hit kind of my threshold, my million karma or whatever, I kind of got bored of Reddit, and I kind of went back to just kind of using it as I used it kind of traditionally, kind of
Yeah,
commenting and Apple, or talking about going into meme economy and helping create a community there, or just not really commenting, doing anything kind of specific with my account, but just kind of talking about just kind of things that I would enjoy.
yeah,
Um,
of course.
so nothing
So
super special.
so with that, in terms of the subreddits you've moderated or not, what what have you faced in terms of challenges? Has there been challenges for you on either subreddits you've created or become a mod into? Would as a moderator, would you experience any of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the biggest challenges that you run into is to uh, get a moderation team that kind of works well with you and kind of
Yeah,
understands the community and understands the subreddit, and understands kind of the content that you want posted on there. Um, because at the end of the day, the moderators kind of are in charge of kind of curating the community, just through
of course. Yeah,
curating the content and the kind of what's allowed to be posted there. And if you don't kind of remove the toxic content, um,
which there is a lot of, isn't there? It's
which
so
there's a lot of kind of
so.
inherently on Reddit, just because it's filled with teenagers. Um, it is
Some of
what
it is funny though.
some of it's
You have
funny,
to
perhaps.
remove it, but it's like sometimes I'll remove something. I'll be like, ah, fair play. It's actually great, but still, I've got to delete that.
Right, right. And so, once you do that, and if you don't do that enough, and that's something that I was guilty of, like of meme economy, sometimes the community can kind of, branch off into kind of, these are the very early days of meme economy when I was creating like
Yeah.
discords and stuff for it. And I didn't really know what I was doing. And so the meme economy discord, the original one, which I still think has, thousands of members,
No,
was,
it
was,
has.
was
It's actually they it's called meme economy now, the Discord, but they don't do anything to do with a meme economy or anything like that. But I think it's got thousands and thousands and thousands of members there. Which when I joined, I was like, I started talking about meme economy, and I was like, yeah, no, we we don't do that here.
Right, right, exactly. So that was because essentially meme economy kind of when I joined it was filled with edgy memes. It was filled with kind of people who didn't really have a very they were very libertarian, I guess, with their
Right.
idea of what should be on Reddit. Um, and I was like, okay, this is my first time moderating this. I didn't really know what I was doing. Um, and and that's kind of what caused my interest in wholesome memes actually as well, was because I just saw so much negativity on the internet. I wanted to create something that was a lot more accepting, wholesome, and a nice place to do it. But anyway, so I would create discords and stuff for meme economy, and they would just become very toxic. People would post inappropriate images in there, or and just to kind of shock people. And it was something that I really didn't, one, I didn't have the time to moderate, and two, I realized that the beast that I created was a bit, or maybe not created, but the beast that I had been involved in creating was definitely out of my control. And I didn't really know what I was doing in terms of moderating the subreddit. So I kind of just kind of let it go for years. Um,
Yeah.
and so that was definitely a challenge that I faced. At the end of the day, I'd say that a lot of it was really it's all just kind of a learning experience. It's all just understanding kind of the human psyche, understanding how people think. And I think that at that level, doing kind of what I do on Reddit is really kind of a cool thing, because it does allow me to kind of understand, why some people comment stuff like this, why people post stuff like this, why people will send death threats to you, why people will
Have you
be
had that? Have
interested in
you?
this. Yeah, I mean, if you're around
Wow.
Reddit long enough, everyone kind of gets if you piss enough trolls off, and at the end of the day, they're all just trolls. I've never really been
Yeah.
seriously worried, um, and nor should I be, um, but uh, but I think at the end of the day, people have there's it's so interesting to kind of understand people, and to kind of understand why they do things, and working with the Reddit team, the Reddit administrative team, they're
Yeah.
a great team. They respond very well to abuse. It's they'll if something is very serious, they will contact law enforcement and stuff, and so they are very comforting to have. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of interesting. And
Yeah.
but the pressure does kind of get to me sometimes, and that's kind of why I've taken kind of a step back, and why I haven't really wanted to be an active moderator, because again, the
Yeah.
the reward for being a moderator from that those few months that I was kind of a very heavily active or not really heavily active moderator, a couple hours a week, of just moderating.
Yeah.
I just really didn't enjoy it, at the end of the day, because it was just I wasn't moderating communities that I had an interest in. I was just kind of.
Yeah, I mean that must be a difficult thing. Is you're investing your time in something that you're not really that interested in, which sucks. Like we need to do things that we enjoy.
And I mean, the reason people do it, and there's a lot of moderators who do that, and there's a lot of moderators who do it and just kind of suck it up. And the reason that they do it is because if they realize, and this is true, if they do a good job and they're active enough, that they will be promoted and they will be added to all these other subreddits, and they will be a default moderator or a moderator on default subreddits, and that's really interesting because that's kind of their goal is to kind of get that glory of being kind of I moderate 100 million users or whatever, which is fairly common.
Well, I have found out with a lot of people it's not necessarily I really love this community, I'm trying to mold it to be a great place and an active place. It's more right, I moderate X amount of millions of people, and I mean that kind of annoys me in the sense that I would rather see people actually taking place in their community rather than just being a name on a sidebar.
Right, exactly.
It kind of infuriates me.
Right, and again, so many people kind of think about it, moderating like that. I mean, it infuriates you, and it infuriates a lot of people. But I think that it really is just kind of really it's what some people do, and it's kind of the hobby that some people have.
Each their own, right? Each their own, and
right.
If anyone wants to do that, it's fine. But it's just for me, it's always been about community, right? And which with you is as well. And so I think that with all of this, it's I'd rather it's just moderate, be part of a community. If you enjoy it, great. If you don't, like we need to do things that we enjoy, and if we don't, what is the point?
Right, exactly. So I agree completely with that. I think that it is kind of it is about community, and it is about really the subjects that you really enjoy, like I like wholesome memes. I think those are really funny, and
they're great.
They're not toxic and are bitter. And it's kind of a nice break to moderate something like that. So I don't really see it as kind of moderation or work. When I spend 15 minutes a day on wholesome memes, looking at posts and stuff.
So for me, like just listening to that is from getting death threats and this toxic nature of some people has kind of pushed you away from that. So like obviously with meme economy taking that step back kind of approach is because maybe that the toxicity of some people is just why deal with that. And obviously some people can just turn like that, and that's not great. But going forward, it's easy to mask everyone with that, isn't it? To label everyone with that in the end you're going to be toxic. But if we look at it in a way that some people just generally care, and they're not going to be like that, but with a history of a lot of people turning against you in that sense, you can understand why you take that approach, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that you're absolutely right. I think that it is kind of. I mean, I have thick skin. I can handle a lot, but at the end of the day, if I'm not interested in something, it's a computer website. I can stand up out of my chair and just walk away. It's not
exactly,
like this is my life. It's not like there's actual stakes here. I mean, I could delete my Reddit account during this podcast. I wouldn't really care too much, just because it would just be I have so much else going on. It's not my life, and I'm very thankful that that's the position that I am in. I mean, there's so many people who I mean, for better or worse, they make Reddit kind of their life. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just kind of who they are. But I'm just very lucky, or I feel very lucky that I'm not in that position where I feel kind of controlled by Reddit, and or any other social media platform. That's kind of a problem that's kind of emblematic of not just Reddit but all social media. I mean, there's millions of teenage girls who they'll delete a picture off Instagram if it doesn't get enough likes in an hour. So I just think that social media itself is kind of inherently very addictive, and very kind of very controlling of your behavior. And once it kind of starts interacting kind of your real life, or interacting or interfering with your real life, I think that at that point you really need to take a step back,
So the psychology side of it, so the psychology, the insight that you've had into people on Reddit and things like that. Why do you think that people make this their life in terms of moderation, being a member, taking things so seriously? What is your opinion on that?
I think that, if you look at it from kind of a different perspective, you can find it very satisfying. And I think, I mean, just like me trying to get a million karma, that was, I mean, I really just did that just to get a million karma because I wanted to kind of, see those, those 7 digits on my profile. Um, and that was, that was really the only reason that I did it. Um,
Yeah,
but once I did it, I was like, oh, that's kind of anticlimactic. And I kind of, I wasn't really interested in it after that. But I think there's a lot of people who use Reddit because they're good at it, and they moderate, and they make it their life, and they love kind of interacting, not just with the users but with the other moderators. I mean, there's so many
yeah,
people on Reddit who make Reddit kind of a game of politics, and
yeah,
they
yeah,
kind of see, hey, I'll put in just a little bit of work onto the subreddits, but my main goal on Reddit will be to kind of, kind of network with users, and network with other moderators, and build kind of a following, and try to use that, and to kind of play politics, and to kind of see how powerful I can become just from the connections that I know. I mean, that was something that I kind of fell into accidentally. But and the thing that really kind of didn't appeal to me much of Reddit. But there's a lot of people out there who do use Reddit, in that way, and they do use Reddit in a way to kind of say, hey, I'd love to just kind of see how many subreddits I can moderate, how many people I can control. And I think that that's a really, really, really interesting way of doing, kind of Reddit.
certainly is. Yeah,
Just because it's so it's so kind of incredible how much influence you can get just by kind of playing politics, and it is. I can understand how much fun that would be to kind of have that kind of power and control, not just over
yeah.
people already, but being able to use that to kind of get more power and control. I
Is,
mean,
is, is part of is part of that to get close to the administration team of Reddit as well? Because from the people that I know and I speak to, like friends online and whatnot, there's always to me seemed like this big mystery about the Reddit admins is that you moderate, you can go to the moderator meetups and stuff like that, and you get to meet like the admins and stuff like that. To me, it seems like that is a big draw.
Right, and I can definitely see how that was a draw. Unfortunately for me, I kind of peaked a little too early, for that. I've worked with Reddit. I mean, through other work that I've done outside of Reddit, I've worked
Right.
very closely with the Reddit administration team. I mean, they've I've flown out to their headquarters in San Francisco. I've met with the whole team. I've met with the CEO, and that was very early
Nice.
on in my Reddit career before I was really a moderator. I mean, I still do kind of ongoing work for them. I do, and this isn't really related to my Redditness, my Reddit profile,
Yeah.
but this is just kind of my outside, my kind of my job and stuff. So I do a lot of kind of. They've definitely peeled back the curtain a little bit there. So it did kind of take a lot of the magic out of it. Once I
Yeah.
did kind of
Yeah.
get to know. I mean, I talk with Reddit admins, all the time. I just kind of outside of Reddit, and it kind of is kind of, and then you look back and you say, okay, now it's time for me to go back to being a Reddit user and trying to interact with the admins who are there, and it just kind of, it doesn't really feel the same way, as when you've already kind of
Yeah.
know
I
the
can
Reddit
see.
people, just because they
So
are
you.
they are just people.
Yeah. Exactly. Can you see my point there? Is the obviously with you what you've done there, the magic kind of gets taken away. But it is, from what I see, in my perspective, and I'd like your opinion on that, is that a lot of people are trying to reach that. They're trying to, because it is a mystery, and everyone wants to find out what the mystery is.
Right. I mean, that's definitely what it is. Kind of like what I said at the beginning. Reddit is kind of like a black box, and I do kind of really believe that very deeply. I think that a lot of websites are kind of like a black box. I
Yeah.
think that a lot of them are designed to be like that, almost just because they want to have that kind of lack of interaction between the moderator, between the admins and the users. And as I mentioned when I spoke with you the other day, a lot of the moderation techniques that I've taken have tried to be kind of along that same style of kind of like hands off. Don't tell the users a lot of information. You just kind of have it be kind of a black box. And one of the reasons I did that is just because I didn't have the time to kind of to do a lot of community management, answer every single question. But the second reason I did that was because I was kind of inspired by websites such as Reddit, to kind of take that laissez-faire approach to kind of running a content platform. So I definitely understand that. And I definitely understand kind of the magic aspect of it. I mean, I've been. It is very enchanting, when you
It
use
certainly
Reddit,
is, yeah.
and you have all your friends use Reddit, and one of your friends gets banned, and you don't know why they got banned, and you try to figure it out, and you cross-reference, and then you message the admins, and then you check your inbox every single day, and then 1 month later the admins get back to you and they have a very vague message and you try to interpret it, and it is kind of like a
Yeah.
it's kind of like a quest almost. It is kind of have that mythical feel to it, but at the end of the day, once that experience I've definitely felt on Reddit and other platforms, but it's definitely been spoiled for me a little bit, just because just because of my work.
Well, you
because
finished
of
the quest,
right.
right?
We're kind
So
of essentially
you,
like
you
that.
got to the end of the quest, and I would say from when I first started getting active and whatnot within meme economy and whatnot, your name was elusive. It was like, wow. I remember when I first started talking to you, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, you're speaking to Noerdy," and and I mean that was it was always interesting to me because it was you was like this character that did or did not exist, and so when you actually interact and whatnot, it gives you almost a sense of, oh, you're kind of important, right? And I can see how that works in the grand scheme of things in Reddit. It's like, right, I moderate X X or Y, and so to get up the ladder as it was to speak to the admins, it's like, wow, I've accomplished something, and I can see how that works.
Right. No, and I think that you're absolutely right. I think that you've kind of you got the point exactly what it is. I mean, that kind of me trying to be kind of elusive and stuff. One of it, as I said, it was kind of a byproduct of me just kind of being lazy and having things outside of Reddit to do. But
Yeah,
it did serve a purpose because it did kind of have a lot of users be see Reddit and see myself as kind of a more of an authoritative figure, which I was
yeah,
able to use to help enforce the rules and stuff. Especially on like wholesome memes and subreddits like that, which is kind of just from almost a Machiavellian standpoint, kind of how you should be kind of managing a community or managing kind of a
yeah,
subreddit or community. And I think that it is kind of a really interesting perspective. I haven't really thought too much about kind of the big ramifications or something like that, but I do think that I do think that it is very, very interesting to kind of see the 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 uh, the
the effects of
results
that.
of the effects of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it is kind of
and
interesting.
I do think that for me anyway, you say that you don't think too much into it, you probably don't. But I do think that you are a very calculated individual. That you have a game plan of most things, and so it may not be the end result, but obviously you like data, you like finding trends in things and whatnot. So you are a very, very calculated person. I do think that you do think about things like this because the end result is something that will either serve you or won't serve you. So being the elusive figure and taking on that role allows you to have more time for yourself, which is what you want, right?
Right. No, exactly. I mean, I have always been very, very careful of my presence online. If I've never, used a swear word. I've never, been, overly critical of anybody, just because I know that, those things can come back to kind of bite you later. So I have been very, very careful with what I've done, how I presented myself, and I think that, it has kind of
Maybe I should work on that.
maybe, but it is all very interesting to kind of see, because at the end of the day, it kind of, I really like the mentality of fake it until you make it. I think
Yeah.
it's 100% true, because I think that any kind of quote unquote celebrity or any kind of online influencer or whatever. I'm not calling myself an influencer or a celebrity, but like
Well,
people like
but in a way you
Vsauce.
are. In a way, you are an influencer, and you can't take that away from you because you've created communities that are very popular and very active, and it's a result of of at the start and whatnot, you obviously take that back step eventually, but at the start, it is creating a community, an idea of what you wanted. Meme economy, for instance, is something that you had this idea, and obviously you're conceptualizing it now, but it was your idea of what you wanted. So you are an influencer, and I don't think you should take that away from yourself.
Right, right. I mean, I don't disagree. But I think, at the end of the day, I mean, if you look at people on YouTube like Grande or PewDiePie, they kind of, you kind of have to kind of act in a certain way to kind of appeal
Grandiose.
to them. Yeah, but at the end of the day, once you do it correctly, and once you kind of have this kind of more built around persona around you, it's very easy to kind of join those communities and join those circles. I mean, I've
Yeah,
worked with PewDiePie in the past, not relating to Reddit, but relating to other stuff. I've done work with Grande, Dolan Dark, Anthony Fantano, all these big
yeah,
YouTubers and stuff. Just like Call Me Carson. I know he was in the news recently. I've done some work with him, and once you kind of are able to kind of present yourself in a way that is much more professional, and is kind of
yeah,
you kind of act like you know what you're doing, the opportunities really open up a lot more. And I think that kind of mentality of fake it till you make it um, is really kind of emblematic of not just Reddit, not just kind of the internet, but the world in general. I think that
yeah. Agreed.
the
Yeah,
biggest advice that I have for someone who wants to be successful is to be confident and to kind of act successful, because then people will kind of perceive you as successful and kind of treat you like somebody who is successful, which will
and
kind of
they follow that. People
thank you.
people want to have that success, and what I found is people want to follow success, and if you have that allure around you, the people will follow that. And I make you right. I second your point is that if you don't feel like it at the minute, if you fake it till you make it, you are going to make it. But it's just believing that. But you also can't get lost in that either.
Right, exactly. So I think that's very, very important for people to be able to do. And I kind of rationalize it, and I kind of act in this kind of professional way, just because I really that's how I think people should be acting. In general, I think that I'm not opposed to people being teenagers and acting goofy and stuff, but I think that
Yeah,
I've tried to always lead by example instead of by moderation. As again, kind of following that kind of Reddit laissez-faire attitude, and I think that certain communities that works and certain communities that doesn't work. And I
yeah.
think that it's kind of a really interesting way to kind of try to grow a community.
For sure. So just on another vein here, with the whole fiasco with meme economy and Dank Exchange, from your point of view, how did that happen, and perhaps what would you have done differently?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, I think that uh, what happened there, it was definitely a huge disappointment, because I learned that a lot of our users were not interested in the kind of the platform that me and my development team wanted to build. So that was a huge disappointment, and that was really, I think, the only disappointment from that. I think the fact that a lot of users left meme economy. I'd say we probably
Yeah,
lost around a third of our active users. The fact that that I did that was disappointing. But at the end of the day, I rationalized it, and I said, hey, that would have happened anyway, because I mean we were still going to go through with this platform. So to fill in anyone who's listening, excuse me, wow, I need a drink of water. To fill in, I've been talking for like, what is this, an hour? Um,
nearly.
I I promise I'm not like choking up or anything.
you,
um,
you sure you're not getting upset? Are you
yeah,
sure?
it's so emotional.
We can
No,
confirm that. Yeah.
the the what happened was, we had a lot of users on meme economy, and they were using kind of a bot that we had created on the subreddit to kind of if you invest, or kind of we created a bot that would allow you to reply to it and say invest, and then how much of your net worth, because we gave each user an account balance, you could kind of invest and predict whether a post would be more popular or not. we thought that was kind of a really fun idea to kind of take meme economy and turn it into a real thing. So we did that, and we got a large number of users. I mean, it became kind of almost a viral trend. Where people in other subreddits would talk about it. We had over 100,000 users, and it was a really really kind of a cool experiment. And from that, we kind of, that was a very simple kind of idea that we created. It was, essentially, if you invest when a post has a few upvotes and it gets a lot of upvotes, then you make
more money.
And so we thought that was
meme
a really
coins.
Funny idea, right? Meme coins.
It's a great idea. Great idea.
Yeah, and we built this bot. We had a lot of fun with it. But after a certain amount of time, our users, we went from probably having tens of thousands of users a day, using the bot, to having just a couple hundred, and then eventually, and once we kind of had that level of just a couple hundred, or maybe even 50 or 60 users, we started to analyze who are these users. And we looked at it, and we looked at the data, and we saw that the only users who were active were really the top 50 users, and those are the people who really just had the incredible exponential net worths, the net worths that were you had to count the number of commas in their account balance to really understand how many who had more.
Yeah, it actually broke the bot once, didn't it? It was the
right. There was
numerical value of it. Yeah.
it was pretty clear, and we had like a leaderboard and stuff that we would use, but it never. I mean, at the end of the day, it was very hard to rationalize it. We had like quintillion versus like a quadrillion, and it was like, what's more, what's less. It wasn't very intuitive. So we kind of had the idea of one, reducing those numbers a lot. So we tried to impose these very crazy taxes, a tax of like 99% on like the richest people, and then but we had another idea that was really kind of our intention from the beginning, which was to create an actual market, or at least something that mimicked a market, on the subreddit. And what we mean by that is we wanted to create an algorithm that had kind of an element of demand to it to kind of influence the price of a post. So we built a new bot and a new algorithm. It took us months of work. We built a new website to go along with it, and basically how it would work is if the more people who invested in a post, the higher the price of the post would go. And you weren't investing you wouldn't make money based on the upvotes. And just to kind of preface something, none of this has anything to do with real money or cryptocurrency. This is all just
of course,
just virtual money. But anyway, so if I ever use the word money for any of your listeners, I'm not actually talking about money.
It's funny because we're used to it. We understand it's easy to slip into that, right? We know, so everyone must know.
Exactly. So the quote unquote, you'd make more money, based on, if the post was more popular or not, but actually based on kind of whether other users think the post will be more popular or not. And we thought that was really interesting because that's actually how the stock market works. That is kind of the idea of the Keynesian beauty contest, where you don't
obviously
have to just
your interest is you like figures, you like stats and things like that. Just to obviously just to add to that, that's you love that.
Right, exactly. Kind of my purpose behind meme economy was to kind of, first of all, I'm very interested in economics just as a concept and as a field of study, as a discipline. And so, I would read, all these economics books. In college, I majored in economics. I was very interested in kind of the content, the idea of economics as kind of an academic discipline. And so kind of how that worked was, I wanted to create, part of my inspiration for joining meme economy and why I enjoyed it so much was because, I wanted to kind of share kind of people's interest in economics, and kind of try to get people just talking about it, because you can't really teach people stuff on Reddit kind of forcibly. No. But I wanted to kind of create an environment that was kind of conducive to learning, and kind of help self-actualize the users on the platform, in a way that, kind of help them, they say, hey, I've been playing around with meme economy on Reddit for a little bit. I'm interested in maybe actual investing. And
I had that quite a lot just to know that actually kind of worked for you was the fact that on obviously on the Discord server, I had a lot of people, because obviously I invest as one of my side things, but I had a lot of people that come to me and they wanted to invest and learn how to invest. So in that way it works for you. So
Right, exactly. I think that's really the beautiful thing that I think about Reddit, is not, the numbers of users, or the amount of karma, or the amount of views or whatever. It's the fact that you're able to create a forum or a community where users will actually be able to be interested in kind of bettering themselves academically, and that's really what interested me about meme economy. What still interests me about meme economy. So anyway, we decided that the bot that we created, we could go a step further, and we could actually build in actual market mechanics where users would actually have to be thinking in kind of a Keynesian way, where you have to
yeah,
realize, hey, I don't just have to think whether this post will go up or down, in terms of demand. I have to think whether other people will think that this post will go up or down based on demand. Because if other people are thinking that it will go up, then it will go up because they will buy, and then it kind of goes down the ladder until you hit the Nash equilibrium. But
yeah.
I don't want to get too technical or anything, but essentially, what that means is, you kind of have to think a bit more about the actual users, about the actual market, and because we were actually having users think about the actual market, we wanted to kind of have that reflect on the actual meme that we were posting
Yeah.
about, the actual meme. Because again, another one of the goals of meme economy was to try to track the popularity of a specific meme.
Well, I
Um,
mean, it's in the name, isn't it? It's economy. It's to get that the trend and to see where the supply and demand is.
right, exactly. So we wanted to kind of have something that would kind of track the popularity of a meme, and we had the idea, with this new bot and these new mechanics. Of course, now memes are totally different than when they were in 2016. Memes
Yeah,
don't
of
no
course.
longer last weeks or months. There's only one of them, and now there's hundreds of memes that people kind of use
Goes
interchangeably.
so
But
fast.
right, but when we kind of had the idea, we wanted to kind of track to see the popularity of a meme, and kind of having this Keynesian economic market would allow us to kind of track the popularity of memes from a much more analytical standpoint. And so that really
Yeah,
interested me from that standpoint. And it really also interested me because that was also how kind of the stock market works. I mean, the stock price isn't really affected directly by how well the company is doing or what their earnings
yeah.
report is. It's affected by
It's
how
just
much other investors want that stock. It's all just
rumor.
based on demand, right? So if we were able to kind of build something that kind of mimicked that, and build a price for a post that was not based on the number of likes that post had, aka how well the company is doing, but was instead built on how much demand that post had for users, we were able to kind of get an extra level of kind of understanding and intuitiveness into that. So anyway, we thought it was a great idea, and we loved the idea. So we built that system and we implemented it. And we didn't ask our users about the idea. We were very, very hands off, almost in that kind of black box way that we've been talking about before with Reddit,
The
and
mystery,
other
the
websites.
elusive.
That
Yeah,
kind of mystery and the elusiveness. We wanted to kind of implement it like that, because we thought that would be, that's how game companies release
well,
games.
historically, that's worked for you, hasn't it?
Historically, it's worked for me very well. If you look at kind of any game company, they're always very secretive until there is any movie company. They might release a trailer or a teaser or something, but they never release the entire movie or big chunks of it.
Yeah,
So and then they never ask for feedback. If they're releasing the new season of Game of Thrones, they usually just kind of release it and see what happens. So I was kind of inspired by that kind of black box mentality.
yeah,
So I released the game, and I was really disappointed because, as I said, about a third to a half of the users, just kind of, which was a very significant chunk. Again, it
yeah,
was only around 50 or so users. It wasn't as big as we were when we originally started, but a big chunk of our users just kind of got up and left because they didn't have any interest in this new concept. Whether it was too complicated or whether they didn't enjoy the fact that they wouldn't have large numbers that they were dealing with. Because as we're interviewing these people, to kind of figure out why they left, a lot of them said, "Hey, I really liked having like a quadrillion, currency because it made me feel rich." And that was something that I
See,
didn't really think about.
obviously, I would, from my perspective, I would disagree with that because it wasn't the idea of meme economy. What you've got now, I think, is fantastic. What the issue is the was the elusiveness and the mystery, that way of dealing with it. I don't think worked. And so, if it was to be handled differently, I think that user base perhaps would still be there. I don't think it was what your concept. They didn't like it. It was purely the fact that they felt forgotten.
Right, and that was also something that I learned. I think you're absolutely right there as well. And that was, that might have been, the majority of what would happen, which was, I really I had zero transparency with the users. And towards the end, like in the last month or so before releasing it, I tried to add a couple of moderators to our team, to our development team, to kind of help us test it, and to kind of think about it for the community. But I never really opened it up publicly, and I never really, kind of opened it up and tried to ask people kind of what their
But that
opinion
does make
was.
sense because historically for you, what has worked has been your strategy before. So obviously, understanding that side of it is why wouldn't you have gone down that path because it worked before. So
Right, exactly. It worked. It worked.
you can get to understand that.
Right. No, absolutely. It was never like malicious or anything. It was all just because that was how it had worked for me in the past. And I expected to launch this thing and people to say, hey, this is a great new concept and we're gonna love it. Just like when we introduced the bot in the first place,
Yeah,
we just kind of dropped it out of nowhere and people loved it. So we expected people to kind of have the same kind of appreciation that we did. But for that reason that you mentioned, kind of the lack of transparency on my end. And maybe some other factors. The users basically didn't like it at all, and they created the Denk exchange as a way to kind of go back to the old method of doing it. And that was fine. I think that you asked at the beginning, kind of what would I have done differently? The only thing that I would have done differently, because again, when I was developing this, we had Luke and Ella who were moderators, and they joined because they wanted to kind of see how the bot was coming along and if they could do anything to help. I looked to them to kind of uh, be my community managers almost. And they said time and time again, they said, hey, let's go back to the old model. This, I don't like this at all. The community won't like this. And I kind of brushed them aside because that was really the one thing I wasn't going to compromise on was the new
yeah.
concept, because I really liked the Keynesian economic concept instead of the kind of the click the button and the money goes up concept.
I think
And
perhaps obviously I don't know what happened in conversations, but um, perhaps it was in the for the duration of the development of the new system would have been to keep the bot on, have a new season, and then keep people interested that way. So at least the community who had been there for a while still had something to go on.
right, no, I think you're absolutely right there. Um, so I think that's a huge point. I think that again, I handled it very poorly. There were big stretches of time, when there was no bot on meme economy, and I wanted to bring it back, but I'm not the only developer on the team, so
Of course, yeah.
I got outvoted there. But a lot of it was really just poor planning on our part. And we didn't listen enough to the community, and for that, I apologize. Yeah, I do. I'm sorry for that. But
It's a hard one to swallow, that one, isn't it?
it is. But at the same time, the result that came out of it, because I feel like even if we had communicated the most with the community, I'm not totally sure if we would still have all these people on our platform, just because it was just kind of a different concept. I'm not totally sure, but I guess this is kind of an interesting an interesting thing. I said something about that last time. I'm just trying to look it up now. Um, but yeah, I think it is just kind of an interesting
It's
thing.
all interesting concepts because at the end of all of this, things happen for a reason, and what we have is communities that really are the same thing, have a majority of the same people, have crossovers between the people, but there's a community of people that like the economy, like to have this simulation of making money off of memes, and for that, it's brilliant because people are interested in it. Either way, it doesn't matter if it's on a Dex Exchange, Dex Exchange or meme economy. People are interested in the concept, and that everyone wins from that.
Right, right. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I think that it is. Um, it is definitely, an interesting thing. I think that at the end of the day, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. I was looking at something else, but I think at the end of the day, yeah, I think that what we did, it was a mistake, but we would be in the same position. The only thing that I would have done differently is I would have created that bank exchange platform, myself, just so I could kind of look at all the numbers and look at how many users are using it and kind of what if there's anything different. But Luke's a great developer. He's doing a great job over there. I don't know if they're running into the same problems that we did, but it would be kind of interesting to kind of see that. But
And
again,
I don't think there'd be any reason why that obviously that conversation can happen, and what it is to be human, as we're learning now in this extraordinary circumstance that we find ourselves with this virus and whatnot, is that to be human means to work together. And I do think we all put up these bridges, these walls to each other, but at the end of the day, we are human, and there's no reason why we can't all learn from the mistakes we've already made. And I do think that's important. It's an important one to learn, and I have found myself learning that more and more during this period of time. Is that really things don't actually matter. The drama, the things we think are important in the grand scheme of things, they really aren't.
right, and I try to kind of disengage myself with a lot of that as well, just because I know that I've been involved in so much drama on Reddit that, I mean, the whole Noerdy did a terrible job managing meme economy, and all the users left
Well,
to Day Exchange. That as true as that is to a certain extent, that has happened so many
doesn't matter.
times to
Yeah,
me in the past, and I'm just kind of used to it. It's just part of Reddit. It's just part of social media, I think, in general.
yeah. So, in that sense, then, do you ever see meme economy and Dank Exchange ever collaborating, and ever sharing anything?
Well, I'd really love for that to happen, because once Dank Exchange kind of announced that was what they were doing, once kind of Luke and Ella left my team and kind of created the Dank Exchange. um, when I went to Luke and I kind of proposed him the idea of kind of having uh, his bot run on meme economy at the same time as the new bot that we were implementing.
Yeah,
Which again, I was uncompromising about getting rid of the new bot. But the one thing that
yeah.
that meme economy does have is we do have kind of even though we're nowhere near the tens of thousands of active users that we had, but we do still have that kind of name recognition. We do still have
And
over a
the
million
visibility, isn't it? I
subscribers.
mean,
Yeah, we do have
I
that
mean, meme
visibility.
economy. You get up, you get upvotes, and obviously by the thousands. And what way do you see that collaboration forming?
Well, again, if I had, if I can kind of get my cake and eat it too, what I would do is I would add, and again, I'm not sure the specifics of doing this and how to make it easy for a
Yeah,
user, but I know that on the meme economy right now, we got rid of the investment command. Completely, it doesn't exist. I mean, we exchanged it for a buy and sell command, which users buy and sell a number of shares of the post. So maybe what I could do, if we could do this, is we could uh, add the Dank Exchange bot onto meme economy, um, and have that use the invest command and stuff like that, and have that be the old system. Again, I'm not sure if that's even possible from kind of a user, from a user perspective, user
yeah.
experience perspective. And again, I'm not even sure. I'm guessing that I mean, you guys have your own thing. You guys have kind of a great thing going on in your partnership with Dank Memes and stuff. But I think that if that was kind of the idea that I approached Luke with, kind of originally when he told me that he was going to be doing something like this, just because I figured we still are gaining 1,000+ new subscribers a
Yeah, of
day.
course, yeah.
We still are growing the subreddit, and if we were to take some. We're working right now as kind of a mod team to kind of help transition some of those new subscribers over to the bot, but especially kind of for the long term. But again, I think that would be a really good idea, because what I had no idea about was that those 50 or 100 users that were using kind of the old kind of bot method, that was really that they enjoyed that a lot, and they had so much fun using it, even if I saw it as kind of like
Yeah,
not very kind of it's not very thought provoking to use as a bot, and you can create your own bots to kind of create huge amounts of money.
I think maybe one day it would be interesting to see between the two communities a crossover, like Dank Exchange do with Dank memes, to see how much interest there would be still in that bot.
Yeah,
Obviously not adding, not so much start adding it to meme economy, but to do a crossover event with the bot to see the community, the people that would still be interested in that element to it. I do think that would be interesting to see. Obviously, from a stats point of view, would be very interesting.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, we're working with, with the meme economy bot. I mean, it would be very easy for me to kind of collaborate with other subreddits as well, to kind of get a lot more
100%,
traffic to the bot. But that's just not something that I'm interested in right now, because the bot is nowhere near finished. We wanted to add more cosmetics. We wanted to add things that users could buy with their money besides kind of upgrading their firms. We wanted to add all these crazy fun browser games, kind of like Cookie Clicker, kind of ways for people to kind of have fun there. We have kind of all these big aspirations, but development time is very very slow, especially when it's just volunteers.
Well, yeah, exactly. We forget that it is a hobby. It is a hobby,
right?
And everyone that works on these type of things, they're just doing it out of their spare time. So I honestly think what obviously Dank Exchange have got is a great thing. What Meme Economy have got is a great thing. To forget them the past one, I think maybe that would be a good idea. But I do think that moving forward, the community is great, and on both sides, and we grow together. They grow together. Just finally, our last question to you, Noerdy. What obviously your day-to-day life is? What do you do in that? Obviously, apart from your Reddit career, what do you do?
Right, that's a great question. I'd say right now, I don't want to get too personal about
No,
my
of
life,
course
just
not.
because
Yeah,
it's pretty boring. I don't think everyone would
I'm
stop
sure
listening
it's
to your
not.
podcast. Um, but I do, right now I'm just kind of working from home because of the pandemic. But I am kind of in the
Yeah,
media industry. I am kind of in academics. I do a lot of number crunching. I do consulting, and it just kind of in that general field. So that's kind of where I'm going with my life right now. And I'd still say, I mean, I am still relatively young. I am still interested in kind of furthering my career. But I guess it is kind of, I'm just kind of a normal person who just kind of hangs out with his friends. He goes,
So you're the Reddit side, obviously, young and whatnot, has helped influence and to get a good insight into the media, because that side of it is to engage people. Would that
It's
be fair?
definitely opened some doors. I'll say that. It's very easy. If you go, for example, when I was first, when I started interviewing for jobs and stuff, and someone brings up, that they use Reddit, it's very easy to say, oh, what's your favorite subreddit? And then, maybe they'll say a subreddit that I moderate, and then I say, hey, I've had people say, hey,
Wow.
my favorite subreddit is wholesome memes, and I say, hey, well, I actually helped co-create wholesome memes.
That's fantastic.
And so that, again, that's just kind of a funny little experience. And I'm not really like, oh, look at me, I'm so cool.
I never ever thought you'd be able to reuse Reddit in a
Yeah,
job
but
interview. That's
it
great.
comes up a little bit. But again, it's more of like a funny little like tattoo that I have that I can kind of show pull my sleeve down and show them. It's not anything that I really have made a part of my identity. It's not really
But it
something
helps.
that
It
I
helps.
do. Right. I mean,
Absolutely
it's
helps.
just kind of a fun little thing. Um, so I mean, I know this is a Reddit podcast. I don't want to be talking down Reddit too much, but I think that Reddit itself is kind of a very unique website, that is very 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 special. It has kind of it's a very unique place in kind of the social media ecosystem. And I think that I'm very excited. I know that the Reddit administration. I've worked with the Reddit administration a lot. I've worked with other social media platforms as well.
Yeah.
Like Facebook and stuff like that, kind of helping them improve their user experience. I think the one thing that Reddit has that I think is really unique is it has that strength in numbers. It has that ability for moderators to kind of create and dictate communities, and it really does
Yeah.
follow very positively. It is very positively correlated with kind of the the trends and kind of the ebbs and flows of kind of online internet culture. And I think that being able to track that, from an analytical standpoint, is really, really beneficial and valuable just for companies who are looking to improve kind of their analytics. So I think it is kind of really interesting. I think that Reddit is a great case
It
study
is
in
interesting.
that.
It's absolutely interesting. Well, Noerdy, thank you so much for talking with me today, and I hope you stay safe during these absolutely extreme times as it's becoming now. And thank you for talking about your Reddit career. So,
Thank you so much for having me.
thank you for being on Talk Reddit, and we will be back next week.